This episode of Tearing It Up is brought to you by No-Sew Patches, made for flair or repair. No-Sew is all about adding flair to the gear you already love. It can be your favorite ski shell, an old puffy, a backpack, a hat, anything. Make it stand out from the crowd with a fun No-Sew patch, whole or not. We all need a pop of color, some personality, and a reminder that our gear can tell a story. Again, you don't have to be repairing it to add the flair. Throw on patches anywhere, anytime. Check out nosewpatches.com and use code FLARINITUP for 15% off your next order. That's FLARINITUP, FLARINITUP. That's a long one. Flaring it up for 15% off. Go make your gear yours. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tearing It Up. I do have some dogs behind me kind of wrestling, so I apologize if you all hear that back there. Of course, they just started doing that when we got on the call. But anyway, today we have somewhat of a returning guest. So Kate Harvey is with us again today. If you guys have listened to the Pitch Fest episodes, you've heard me talk about her with Birdie Blue. She was on the compilation episode where we had some of this year's finalists on. So I'm really stoked to get to talk to her for a full hour-long conversation and just dive deeper into Birdie Blue, because I think a lot of you out there will be super interested in what she's doing. And hopefully we get to kind of collab a little bit together soon in the future too. So Kate, first off, will you tell everyone where you're at in the world today as we record?
Yes. Hi, Taryn. Hi, everyone. I'm so psyched to be back. This is so fun. And I love the dogs are just joining our conversation as they always do. So it's all good. We're all having a good time. But I am calling in today from Morrisville, Vermont, which is like 15 minutes north of Stowe, Vermont. So northern Vermont, where it is actually a beautiful day. We're heading into stick season. So we're getting our town back from a lot of the tourists, but it's a little chillier today. So we're getting pretty stoked that hopefully the snowflakes will start flying soon and ski season will be upon us.
I love that. I don't know if this is a East Coast thing. What is? I mean, I can guess what stick season is, but around here we call it either shoulder season or mud season. Can you tell me why it's called stick season there? Is it like all the leaves are off?
Yes. No, it's a great question. So yes, we have become the leaf peeping capital of the world. I feel like this season we had so many people from everywhere come in, and especially Stowe. It's a beautiful resort town, and we had a spectacular fall leaf peeping season. And so then once all the leaves fall off the trees, we call it stick season. So it is our shoulder season. It's kind of the few weeks before snow starts falling and we can all get on our skis. And it's funny enough, a lot of people are always like, oh, it's stick season, boo. But a lot of the locals love it because the town's very quiet.
Mhm.
We can get out and hike. We can kind of do all the things we need to do before winter is upon us. So it's kind of a special season, much like mud season, except mud season is exactly what it is. It's kind of hard to get out and do anything in the mud, but
Now I'm wondering, I'm like, maybe mud season is more so referred to in spring. I don't know. I always just call them both shoulder season. But either way,
Mhm.
around here in Tahoe, similar thing. It's that slower time. It's the time in between like the big rush of visitors and things before the snow really starts flying or anything. It's a lot quieter in town, which is like, good and bad, right? It's good because we get to go out on the trails a little more and get around town easier, and it just feels quiet and nice. But then on the other hand, some businesses, it can be a little rough for sure. I work at a restaurant and brewery as well.
yeah.
So for me, even as well, it's like, okay, going into work, it's like, okay, well, today was pretty slow. That sucks for a few reasons. You want to make money and like
Totally.
have something to do. But, there's always a blessing and a curse to everything. I do think I more so still prefer it, even if it's a little slower at work, because I just want to like be out on quiet trails.
Mhm. I know. It exactly as you said, it's like the beauty and the curse of resort town living, right?
Mhm.
So it's like so nice to have the town to ourselves, but yes, we all depend on tourists. So we're always happy when they come back, and And then it also means our restaurants and breweries are open all the
Yep.
time too. So I'm right there with you. It's
Yeah.
kind of just an interesting balance of the life we all live, right?
Exactly. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too type of thing,
That's
like,
right,
so
unfortunately. As
it's
much as we want to.
yeah, but I think it's, like you said, finding the balance where you get into those different stages and phases of life where you know that like, I've let go of some guilt, for myself in the summer of like, not being out all the time on the trails biking or
Mhm.
whatever, because I've finally found that kind of balance and cadence, and it did take a while, but it's
Truly.
and there's times, it's still around, but, okay, so speaking on shoulder seasons and all that, like, tell us a little bit about Birdie Blue, and because in my view of what you're doing, I mean, you do it year round, obviously, but I think of you or have been thinking of you with the winter and thinking of, like, winter
Mhm.
clothes and things, and so tell us a little bit about Birdie Blue for those of the who don't know and haven't heard that first episode. What is Birdie
Yes.
Blue?
I am happy to. I am the evangelist of upcycling, so happy to give kind of the the whole story. But yes, Birdie Blue is, of course, women owned, based here in Vermont. We take old ski and snowboard gear that would otherwise have ended up in a landfill, and we give it new life in the form of what we call personality filled lifestyle bags. So we make anything from large tote bags to fanny packs to travel bags in our effort to try to protect our greatest playground, which is, of course, Mother Earth.
I love it, and, I think I first heard of you, honestly, was your collaboration with Nara, so I was introduced to it, like, being a wonderful upcycle company, but then when we talked more about the winter specific kind of things and how it all started, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this has just is making me look at all this gear in a new light," because I've worked with Articles in Common, who is a resale platform, and a lot of
Mhm.
brands have resale platforms these days too, which is great. I think that's another awesome opportunity for people to give their gear new life, but at the same time, at least with the branded specific ones, like when a certain company has their own resell, I think that they kind of incentivize you to buy something new from them. I love
Mhm.
that Articles in Common is totally separate, just a third party like reseller for anybody. But said these other brands can kind of give you like, oh, here's 15% off, or I don't know, just things to buy more. And you are taking things that people can't do anything else with. Like for a lot of my winter gear, not even just winter gear, but gear that I am, quote unquote done with, it's for a reason in that it's not usable anymore. Like
Totally.
there's a hole that is on the seam or something that just like no matter how many times you try to repair it, it just doesn't work, or you don't wanna trust it out there, especially, like, if you're in the backcountry or something and a hole in your pants or jacket that could really affect the entire experience of the day. So I was super stoked to hear about what you do with all that, and can you also tell us the story of, like, how it all started? Where did this concept come from? And with telling that story, tell us a little bit of a background of you and skiing and kind of, like, getting into the outdoors in general.
Yes. So I think you just nailed it perfectly on the head in terms of kind of all of these different avenues that we now have to be sustainable in the outdoor world. And for me, this all started because of a ripped pair of ski pants that just had no life in it left. There was no duct tape or stitching or patching that was going to save these babies. I got on a chairlift with my son, and of course, most ski days in Vermont are not necessarily beautiful bluebirds where the sun is shining and it's nice and warm. It was probably, I think, -20. We just happened to catch a beautiful day. So it kind of is exactly why we named the company Birdie Blue. It's a play on a beautiful bluebird day, like that perfect 10 out of 10 adventure day. But we were super psyched. The sun was actually out in Vermont. So we got on a chairlift and heard a very loud rip. And I didn't realize just how badly I had ripped my ski pants until I had to ski down with my rear end hanging out.
Oh my gosh.
So, and like you can imagine him, he's now 10. I think he was 6 at the time. He was totally mortified, like, "Oh my god, my mother is so embarrassing." But, we now have kind of totally he's kind of a funny, interesting, like, quizzical kid, so I turned it on the head and made it kinda cool, where we decided to take the pants apart. So, again, kinda taking a look at them, I had been wearing them for a really long time. As we always say, buy really good gear.
Mhm.
So, I will say that this was a great pair of ski pants. I'd been wearing them for a long time and got full life out of them. So then we decided it was COVID. We went down into our basement where I pulled out my grandmother's old sewing machine and I had him help me cut some little like pouch patterns and we sewed different pieces of the pants together. And then, of course, he thought mom was really cool because he started bringing them to school. And his friends started asking him, "Hey, where'd you get that little zip wallet? That's so cool." And parents started asking me to kind of do the same thing with either gear their kids had just totally destroyed. As we know, kids are really rough on their gear. And it kind of snowballed from there, I guess, no pun intended, not to be corny or anything, right? Where we just kind of started, we had, started to kind of build this network, especially in our incredibly supportive small state of Vermont, where I eventually got introduced to Burton, who was our first partner, and they are just about 40 minutes down the road. We're here, of course, in Morrisville. They're in Burlington, and they're incredibly sustainable. I now kind of have a much deeper inside look at all of these ski companies and gear companies than most normal consumers because of what we do. And I was incredibly impressed by how they actually have a whole team that does just warranty repairs. So with Burton, you can send in a pair of ski pants that you've been skiing in for 15 years, even if they have a rip in them, and they will give you a new pair of pants. They will do all they can to repair it and then second-hand sell it through their secondhand channels. But any gear that they can't repair, they give to us, and then we use it for our bags. So we started to kind of realize, hey, maybe this is not just a kind of a adventurer one-to-one
Mhm.
challenge. Perhaps there is an avenue here within circularity of gear that we can fit into and helping brands think about how to kind of responsibly dispose of gear that's reached the end of its usable life. So that's kind of how we started and grew. And now we've been, as you mentioned, we've had some really fun collaborations like Nara, Gigi, and her team have been amazing. We just launched our 4th collection with them today, actually. And we have another one coming out right before the holidays. So it's a way for them to then kind of create a new, interesting, innovative, upcycled product out of pants that have been either repaired or too many times or have been returned and can't be resold. So that's one example. We've done the same type of thing with Stio. We made 850 bags for them this past summer from just one of their collections of broken gear.
Wow.
So there's a lot of avenues here. We're also starting to explore some partnerships with ski mountains where they might have ski patrol jackets or ski instructor, snow instructor jackets that they can't resell because they don't want people wearing a mountain uniform jacket out on the mountain for obvious reasons.
Mhm.
So there's been kind of a lot of really interesting, fun partnerships that are just continuing to grow as we think about kind of filling this need that no one was really tackling when it comes to gear life and gear usage.
That is so cool, and I just love how some of these big brands have jumped on board. I think that speaks to how like what you just said, like, it wasn't being done, and it's shocking, right? Honestly is, like, one of those kinda stereotypical, like, million-dollar idea things that you see on Shark Tank or those things, right, where you're like, "Okay, how did I not think of this sponge with little holes in it, and it looks like a happy face," whatever, like, everyone, like, it's like, how did we not think of, like, using this gear and turning it into something else? Like, I we obviously people that do that stuff. It's been done in other ways and things, but it's like at the scale that it these big companies, produce and nothing
Mhm.
can be done with the things. Like what is happening and how can everyone kind of do this? And like, having these big brands behind you too, like I said, just also speaks to what you're doing is very meaningful and makes a lot of sense. I love that you mentioned Burton and their warranty policy in return because,
Mhm.
I think we went through a time where some brands or companies had a pretty open-ended, like, policy, with returns and things like that, and then everyone kinda tightened the ship on it all, right? Like, "Oh, never mind," like, REI
Mhm.
specifically, it was lifelong, whatever, return it, and of course, there's gonna be abusers, and so then, it turned
Mhm.
to this, and I understand completely why people have to be strict in those policies, but it really does suck when you are the good consumer, right? And you're like, "No, like, on like, please help me. I don't want to, like, I can't afford to buy something new. I don't want to for whatever other reasons, sustainability or whatnot." And it just is amazing that they actually are kind of putting their money where their mouth is as far as, again, it can be hard to sift through everything these days and really trust that a brand is doing what they say they're doing when it comes to
Mhm.
sustainability.
Mhm.
And I think that's awesome for all those out there who, own Burton, like, look into their policy, and then to know that if they cannot do anything, cannot put it on the resale platform or whatever, that they are giving it to you or doing something better with it is just also so helpful to know it, and I just want people to be able to support companies who are, again, really putting their money where their mouth is, and the Stio thing, I think I don't know if you mentioned that on the Title IX episode, maybe, or I also heard about it when I saw at Rome Fest, it was Geartrade who had some of
Mhm.
your bags there, and it was like, "Oh my gosh, this was awesome," and so they also spoke to that collection, and so you made over 850 bags from a pallet of gear from them. Were they accepting this back from people? Did they have, like, a return? Was that their warranties and everything, or where did that gear come from?
Yes. So this is a great case study in exactly what you just mentioned in terms of circularity, but then also affordability. So finding really good gear, Stio is another excellent, super sustainable partner of ours. Their gear is super well made, very durable. It will last years and years and years, but it is on the pricier end. So what I think they have, I won't speak for them directly, but from what we have seen in partnering with them is their whole thesis is we're going to put out the best gear possible. It's all about getting people outside, live outside is their kind of tagline and do what you love and do it in gear that keeps you outside longer.
Mhm.
And what they started to find is that collection after collection, new colors come out, new vibes, new fits. And so they were finding people wanted to resell old gear or buy a new kit, but do something sustainable with their old kit. So they have in kind of with some other kind of back end SaaS partners, so software as a service,
Oh.
created this whole chain that allows Stio to kind of share all of the gear that they get back through their warranty or through this second life, secondhand sale um, ask they put out there. They then send all of that gear to Geartrade. And Geartrade is a super sustainable husband and wife team based in Salt Lake City. They're awesome people. Their whole team is amazing. They have this huge warehouse and some super cool technology that allows them to process hundreds of thousands of pieces of gear a year. And Stio is just one of their partners. You as an individual can also consign or resale your stuff on their website. But they are super, super committed to sustainability. So they take this gear, Stio again is just one example, and they go through every single piece and they see what they can sell and what they can't. And so what happened is this collection, I think, was from 2021, so a couple of years ago, and they kept it in their warehouse because it was all broken and couldn't be resold on the platform. So when we got connected, when I met Aaron and Laura, the husband and wife duo, the kind of the CEO and COO of Geartrade, we realized like, hey, wait a minute, the way to get all of this out of your warehouse and do something again very sustainable, but create yet another revenue stream from this gear is to have it all sent to us, and we upcycled it all. So it's kind of this amazing chain of circularity and sustainability where Stio makes the best gear. They then have this great opportunity for people to, again, upgrade a kit or resell a kit, make some money to then put money toward a new kit. So, yeah, basically, this is kind of a whole avenue for consumers who, again, want the best gear. And Geartrade is an awesome platform to get really good gear at a super discounted price. So, if you're, again, looking to buy a new kit, know that everything they put on there is high quality. It's been vetted by a human, and that's where they pull out all the broken gear and they're now sending it to us. So we're working on larger scale partnerships with them, but the Stio partnership was our first case study. And so they sent us 3 pallets
Wow.
of broken gear, anything from like ski pants, snow jackets, puffers, all these various types of things that we're working through to upcycle. And so the first 2 collections, the first collection was a 350 piece collection that was sent to all of the Stio stores, except for the stores in California and Maine. And they were sold through retail channels. And now we're working on the second collection. So in total, about 850 bags across carryalls to travel bags to fanny packs, where we even use Stio fleeces and button-up
Wow.
shirts that got sent to us as well. So the whole idea is that we try to make this as seamless as possible. So much like Stio wants to just unload all of this gear for resale to Geartrade, we said the same thing to Geartrade. Just send us everything that you vetted was broken. So we even got things like shoes and hats and cords and jeans and things, but we're finding ways to then make sure all of that stays out of the landfill. So even if we can't directly upcycle it, like shoes, we haven't quite figured that out
Yeah.
yet. Maybe
That's a
we're
tough
working on it.
one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But it's the whole idea that we can all really like trust each other to create a lot of transparency on the full circularity journey of this gear, and really the end goal of continuing to give new life to this amazingly made gear and
Mhm.
keep it out of a landfill so it doesn't just sit there and rot for,
Ever.
thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a few things there to, like, dig into. One, first off, is just the whole story of all of this is, like, at the heart, I feel like collaboration, and
Mhm.
I think that is huge for us, especially in the society that we live in here in the US, and kind of what ideals this country was, like, built on, and being best and better
Mhm.
and everyone trying to one up each other and get to the top, and I'm doing it better this way, and gatekeeping, like, these great ideas and stuff, right? Well, I think we're growing out of that very slowly, in our, like, niche little, like, industries and whatnot, but I think it's really important to have these big brands on board for that reason, to really show other brands too outside in, like, in different industries, that it is absolutely okay and better to work with other people. Like, you're not gonna lose all of your money. I mean, sure, maybe your margin is a little less than it would be if you just kept it all to yourself, but also what are you, like, sacrificing to keep that larger margin? And also, like, how much money do you all need or whatnot, right? It's like, goodness gracious. Like, and it just, yeah, I mean, I also the fact that I am a little woo-woo, and I think a lot of us in the industry and whatnot are, and just really believing that there's, like, an energy exchange and you're just doing something better for the world. That's what matters to you most, and there's a lot more people out there still in the society that don't feel that way. So,
Mhm.
but like I said, at least with these bigger companies, I think it's huge and very important for more of them to get involved with things like this, so it just shows more people in other industries that it is worth it. And again, what are you it's if anything, it's probably saving you money because now you don't have to pay to, like, get rid of this stuff, and you're also helping,
Mhm.
helping grow another business, and again, like, helping protect our planet. So, I just love the idea that, like, this it is circular in all sorts of different meanings of the gear, the life use, and then of these different companies being involved from Stio to Geartrade to you, and then look, now when it comes to you and you have done what you can with everything, you have to call on other people to be, what do I do with shoes? Because yeah, that's a whole
Mhm.
other crazy topic that is there's not a lot you can do with the way shoes are made to get useful stuff out of them. At least like yeah, there's a whole other process to it, and it's taking longer for us to figure out how to recycle shoes in a better way.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I love all of that, and then the other thing with it all is that I wanted to talk about is kinda that scaling thing, like, how long did it take you to go through that Stio? So in my mind, they're sending you all of this stuff. I don't know how big your team is. You can expand on however much you want there, but I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that seems like it would take forever." And then if people are still sending you gear, like, do you have your own warehouse of just used gear? Like, how do you manage being able to take more on and
Mhm.
grow Birdie Blue?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That has been a real learning curve for us. We just celebrated our 3rd anniversary being in business. And yes, I would say you hear, you listen to podcasts or you go to like Title IX Pitch Fest and you hear about just these businesses that have been in business a year and have had tremendous growth and this success and that success. And what we realized very quickly is that we were not gonna have that same hockey stick growth immediately. We had a lot to figure out before we could prove that upcycling is scalable.
Mhm.
So, had a lot of stumbles with some domestic partners that we tried, very traditional cut and sew manufacturers, one, in New York, another in Minnesota, and nothing against their operation. We just were a very different model that a lot of very traditional, factory kind of supply chains can't manage. And this is also why we again can kind of fill this gap for bigger companies because it's really hard to retool a supply chain to support upcycling.
Mhm.
So in learning that and having like some examples, we had a whole collection of bags where we tried allowing the factory to do all the cutting and all the pre-production for us, as that's typically how clothing or bags or ski pants are made. And they cut all of the internal lining fabric and sewed that on the outside of the bags instead of using the
Oh,
actual ski, and snow remnants. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is not going to work. That's
no.
not what we're trying to do here. So in kind of stumbling and failing, we also just flipped it and we're like, okay, well, we're going to learn from this,
Mhm.
and we decided to insource all of the pre-production. So right now it's myself and my production manager, and she is my only full-time employee as of now. But like she's in the other room doing a lot of, we flip-flop on weeks. So we're doing like trim packing right now for a production run that will happen next week. And what that basically means is she's cutting all of the lining for the bag. She's pulling together all of the zippers and the webbing and all the trims that will be needed to put a full bag together. And we pack all of that here in our warehouse, in our little studio. And then we send out pre-cut, already assembled kind of sewing packs to our network of sewists. So we have 20 women here in Vermont that sew for us, many of which are living in very rural parts of our state, the Northeast Kingdom, as we like to call it, because it is magical up there, but it is very rural. And it can be challenging to find employment that provides flexibility to also balance the high cost of childcare. So many of these women are able to stay at home with their children and yet still bring some money into their families by working kind of on their own time. And Vermont has a deep history of textile manufacturing. So there's all this talent in the state that's kind of been passed down generation by generation. And many of the factories were based in these rural towns. And so it's kind of a really interesting way for us to be able to tap into the history of our state too, and this deep talent that we just haven't, as a state, really fostered because a lot of the factories have moved overseas. So we have been able to kind of grow that way, and that's kind of how we first grew
Mhm.
to a level where we were like, "Okay, we think we can do this. we've streamlined cutting through new machines and various technology that we've been able to bring into our space. So now we can process hundreds of bags a week,
Wow.
and that means hundreds of pieces of gear a week. So then we realized, okay, we can keep growing this home sew network, which we always are. I get like emails at least once a day from sewists who have heard about our network that want to join and, test us out and see if it works for them. But we also then, in order to scale and really support some of these larger scale partnerships, we partner with this amazing factory called Southwest Creations in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That is a nonprofit social impact factory, is what they call themselves. And what that basically means is they have about 45 women working for them right now. And they hire women from the local Latina population and they train them. They provide basically free daycare on site and they raise money for their children to go to college because their theory is if you invest in the women
Mhm.
in a community, they reinvest that money into their families and their children, and then the whole community rises. So they've seen this with just kind of the ability to then see their children go on to not only come back and work in the factory as well, or take on managerial roles within the factory, or kind of go on and go to college and start their own businesses. And just the impact they've now had over 40 years in business was incredibly moving to me. And it just feels like
Yeah.
their mission is so aligned with ours. So that's where we now have been able to
Oh,
scale to a couple hundred bags a week and a month to be able to then get to like 1,000 bags, 2,000 bags, multiple thousands of bags, which means multiple thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds of gear saved to prove our mission that this can be scalable. So you can have this like purpose, but then you can also drive profit, which is how we also get some of the gear companies on board with us. So it's taken some time, and it took really the full 3 years, but we feel like we've created now this stabilized platform that we're kind of really eyeing scale in 2026 with some really additional interesting projects and partners in our pipeline that we're really excited to just run after.
that is so cool. All of it. Again, just so many things to even dig into there. I absolutely love the network of sewists. I think that's incredible, and again, a different kind of circulatory and that collaboration, like providing so much back to other people. The factory in New Mexico sounds absolutely amazing, and I'm like, how do we get that here? How why every everyone should have something like that
Yes.
close by, and I mean, that the fact that that even exists, right, is incredible, and I'm sure for you, then it's like, cool, where else are these? Because that is, again, that way that you can scale while continuing to just always give back and have such purpose, because it is incredibly hard to stay aligned to your purpose and values as a growing business. I think we
Mhm.
all can see that, right? Where especially again in the outdoors, where a lot of our conversations revolve around, is we see these companies start, and they started from that, like, small in their basement, whatever, they liked climbing, whatever, made gear, blah blah blah. But to grow, sometimes you have to kind of do things that maybe don't quite align with your values or whatnot, or the founder maybe decides to sell or not be in the forefront anymore for whatever reasons, and then you see companies change. And there's also a lot of talk about how you can't be a values and purpose driven business and make money.
Mhm.
So, it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, such a hard balance, and I mean, I think a lot of us too are not after being the richest in the world, but wanting to comfortably sustain the lifestyle that we seek, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all, but it's gotta be very hard to kinda sell yourself and be like, "Well, I'm not, trying to be the biggest in the world," because that's what people want to see. They, like, wanna see these year over year numbers always growing and growing and growing, and how are you gonna be the biggest and the best? And it's like, "Well, I'm not trying to be," but, like, so that's gotta be just a battle in itself to get people to trust that you can be profitable and, like, it's worth investing in, and I know that that's something that you kind of run into coming against, like, with pitches and things and people wondering,
Mhm.
like, "Well, how are you gonna grow and scale, and, like, can we jump on board and support that yet?" But it's also like, "But the more support, like, the more we can grow and scale," right? It's that catch-22, it feels like. So, you're just it to me, again, I'm just a little old podcaster here that does some marketing. It sounds like you are on such a good track, though, with all these things and have such potential to grow and are growing. So, I mean, I'm like, "Keep doing what the heck you're doing." Like, for sure, it's amazing. But kinda back to the roots of it all, and it started from your own ski pants, having that rip in it, and then, some of your son's friends seeing the gear and parents asking about it. Were they giving you their own gear then to kinda make stuff for them? And now that you're partnering with some of these bigger companies, how does, like, the general kind of, like, independent solo kinda consumer come into Birdie Blue? How could I be a part of this with my own gear?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, like, of course, like the Burtons of the world, I should also just mention Turtle Fur, they're around the corner. Their warehouse is around the corner from ours, and much like you mentioned, some companies are not necessarily, like, looking to make money off
Mhm.
of this. They have been giving us fabric for since we started. So we had some of our early adopter bigger companies that wanted to get behind us and see us succeed. But we've also had a ton of early adopter, just individual followers out there. I'm a total geriatric millennial. I don't understand social media. I don't really understand like influencer marketing. But I found that just kind of putting my story out there, I send an email, usually my email list like once a week. The email list seems to be growing and people open the emails and read them. And it's kind of cool to see this community now build, which is also kind of part of this. Exactly what you just said. Like, I'm not necessarily trying to become $1 billion company, but I love the idea of being able to connect with other geriatric millennials and, all of us out there that just, we've worked really hard and we just want to be able to get outside and have a good time and feel good about the activities that we're doing and the impact we're having on the much bigger world than outside of just like our individual homes or our individual perspective. So I found that a lot of people want to be a part of that.
Mhm.
So what we did is in addition to working with companies that would give us stuff is we launched what we call a Go Green Get Green upcycle program. So you can send in any of your gear. There's a little section on our website where it says recycle your gear at the top of the menu bar. You fill out the form on the webpage and we send you compostable mailers free of charge. So there's a lot of really interesting recycle clothing, kind of recycling programs out there now where you pay for a pack to
Mhm.
upcycle. We wanted to make this kind of as low bar, like nothing that would keep people from upcycling. So we pay for all the shipping, the bags. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is pack up your gear and send it to us. And then we have a custom program where we can either make something out of it for you. We've gotten some really, really good like 80s, 90s ski suits where we've made some pretty amazing bags that hold a lot of memories. We've gotten some, first ski suits from kids that moms and dads want to just hold on to
Mm.
the memories. But we also just get gear. And a lot of people, as we know, whether you have a rip or a tear or you just grow out of something and you don't know what to do with the gear, we get a lot of gear, probably a couple packs a week, just from individuals that want to help support and want to know that the gear they're sending in is going to where we say it's going to.
Mhm.
And then if you just decide to general upcycle with us, you're not necessarily looking for a custom bag, you get a 15% off discount code to shop whenever that never expires. So you can use it during the holidays. You can use it the next day, whenever you get it, so it's just kind of a big thank you to that community that continues to grow that's been behind us from the beginning as well.
Ugh, That's really cool because as I mentioned in the beginning that, a lot of the gear that I end up done with, especially winter, it's because like it's at a point that it's unfixable, unwearable, like no one else is gonna use
Mhm.
it kind of thing. And yeah, I like what do I do with it? I'm not gonna throw it away. But and I have sometimes, yeah, it's like, "Yeah, just take this, I don't want it," but I have one piece in my mind particular that I'm like, "Oh my god, I would love to send that to you and have it come back as a big bag because it's my boyfriend's, like, mono suit for snowmobiling, so it's a lot of material,
Uh-huh.
and we have, like, 1 big tote bag, well, now 2, I have the carry-all tote, but we had this, like, big Deuter 50 or 70-liter tote that him and I are always, like, trying to it's like who gets to it first because that's what the helmet goes in, the boots go in, and all that, and I'm like, "Oh
Yep.
man, it would be so cool to see this climb suit turned into just the tote that all of his snowmobiling stuff goes in," and it's like, "That one's yours. You can have it because it's literally your old suit." So, it's really cool you have that program that you can send your stuff in and get something back from it, or you just send it and forget it kind of thing.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
and the fact that it's that low bar, totally accessible because you don't have to worry about shipping. Because I mean, shipping can be so expensive with some of this stuff, it's heavy.
Oh, yeah.
So to pack up
Mhm.
something like this big, heavy, thick monosuit, it's gonna be a big package. I'm shipping from California, I mean, that can cost an arm and a leg depending on when you're
Yeah.
doing it, especially if you're, like, going through your gear before winter, right? Like, okay, like, come and digging through your gear bins, like, "Oh, I can get rid of this." Now all of a sudden, shipping prices are hiked because it's, like, holiday. I went to the
Holiday.
This is
Yep.
exactly what happened to me the other day. I went and mailed a bunch of my jerseys one day. And then went back, like, literally a couple days later, and they were giving me prices. I was like, "Wait, what? Like, this was $7, like, yesterday or 2 days ago." Like, "Oh, yeah, we're in holiday pricing now." I was like, "Excuse me? It's October,
Mhm.
like, 10th."
Mhm.
Like, holiday
Kills me.
shipping
Yes.
pricing? Like, what? So, yeah, it can really be, like I said, that barrier to entry for people. So that's an incredible thing that it's free to do. So we'll be sure to
Absolutely.
link that. And speaking on that, I know you and I have talked about potentially collaborating with some events because I have a whole winter event series that I started. It started from just doing a ladies avalanche awareness night the last
Love it.
couple of years, and then I've tagged on to a couple other events. And by working with Articles in Common with Rome Fest, I had this idea of working with you and doing kind of like a gear drop at these events for the other snow enthusiasts who have these holy or torn up or whatever things that they cannot resell, or for whatever reason maybe aren't interested in reselling and just want to get rid of it, and how we can maybe set up a drop box or something at these events. So I'm sure I'm not the first person to come up with this for you, but have you done anything like this before? Or tell us a little bit about your plans to have something like that set up.
Yes, and you just totally nailed it. This is the time. Everybody's going through their gear, so we will take it. If you're realizing that your kid or yourself just needs a new pair of ski pants or snow pants or whatever it is, like send it to us. We'll take it. And then yes, exactly. I'm super stoked this whole season to partner with people like you, all these amazing outdoor festivals, communities, here in Vermont, like unlikely riders, just trying to get people out so that there are gear drives that get done to then provide gear to a lot of the people that want to get out and try skiing or snowboarding and don't have the resources or the access to this gear. But what we're finding is that sometimes a lot of the gear that gets donated is damaged and can't be repaired. So there's a lot of opportunities and avenues that we've been thinking about doing these gearboxes with the U.S. ski team's Nordic team has a box that we're going to be bringing to all of their events throughout the winter, where we're going to upcycle old jerseys for them or like bibs
Oh, cool.
that we're going to use as on the inside of the bag. So that'll be kind of a fun opportunity. We are also partnering with some ski mountains to put some drop boxes, whether it's the uniforms, but also just at the end of the season to make it really easy for people. If you do have gear that you just want to get rid of, but again, no, it's going to a really sustainable place. Because I know we all think, like, you go to the gas station, and you see those big bins, and you wonder, like, where all the gear goes.
Yeah.
The one here in New England is a partner of ours, and they are incredibly sustainable. They really do give back and donate a lot of the gear and the clothing that's wearable and usable back to the community. But, we're kind of expanding on that, and anything broken they get will come our way. So, lots of opportunities to just make access so much easier. So, of course, you can always send it to us, but in a way, we wanna make it just kind of top of mind, as easy as possible, especially at some of these key events where like avalanche training, where you really beat up your gear, can have a good place and an easy place to upcycle with us.
I love it. I'm super excited to work with you on that and just to
Me too.
be able to tell people
Totally.
about it, especially so all my events are, like, women focused, and I,
Love it.
feel like a lot of the ladies out there are kinda thinking about it more because 'cause they're the ones like, "Oh, how can I fix this?" or whatever, and again,
Uh-huh.
that could obviously be my bias and my group of people that I'm around specifically where I know the gals are thinking about it more than the guys, but can get the guys to like, "Okay, oh, where I know you have a hole in that, like, give it to me, like, get that out of your closet or out of your gear bin or whatever, where is it at?" So just a little more forefront thought there with the ladies in my bias again opinion, but I'm really excited, like I said, to set that up and at the ladies avalanche awareness night, and we also are doing so that's November 14th in Truckee, and I'm gonna try and live stream it. We did last year. There was some technical difficulties, it took a while getting that done, but if you are out there, like, just pay attention, we'll try it should be smoother this year to follow along with the presentation and, get some avalanche awareness knowledge out there, and then
Love it.
also,
So
you'll
important.
yeah, and you'll be able
So
to
important.
connect with Birdie Blue and send your stuff in wherever you're at, you don't have to be at these events, so as you're all out there digging through your gear, getting ready for winter, figuring out what fits, what works, whatever, there's options for you out there to get rid of your gear in a sustainable, circular way. And what we didn't mention, you kind of mentioned it in some part of the episode, like what you make, but before we get out of here, will you tell the audience, like, what Birdie Blue has, like, what you can find on the website, what kind of bags, and all that fun stuff?
Yes. So our most popular bag is what we call our carry-all. It's a big tote bag that we actually use the pockets from ski pants and ski jackets on the inside of the bag to add some further organization. There's water bottle holders inside the bag. It's the perfect gear bag. Just throw everything in and go. If it gets dirty, you can throw it right in the wash. And the bottoms of the bags, so the outside of the bags, of course, are all of the ski and snowboard pant remnants that we cut and design into our 3-color panel, Birdie Blue design. But the bottoms of the bags are actually banners from the US ski team. When they go to all their World Cup events, they have been landfilling any banner that might have I don't know, a date or a sponsor name on it. Now they send them to us. And so it's another way for another kind of very important and influential organization that really touches outdoor sports to be part of the upcycle game as well. So that is a super multi-purpose, amazing bag. You can kind of use it for anything and beat it up and look cute while, carrying all your gear everywhere because it kind of has a lot of personality built into it.
Yes.
And then we have our dock kit, which is just a travel bag that actually fits everything that you need. I can't stand when you travel and you can't like zip your dock kit or your toiletry bag closed. So we made sure it was meaty. It fits everything you need. Again, super washable and durable. We added kind of our OG fanny pack. It's an ode back to kind of, again, the golden age of the 90s when I learned to ski. It kind of gives away my age, but we knew we had to have a fanny pack in part of our bag mix. And she's real cute. She's just like small, grab and go, one pocket, throw everything in there. And then we're bringing back zip pouches and zip wallets for the holidays. We've been just launched with Nora, a chalk bag for all of my rock climbers out there. And then we're coming out with some new bags in 2026, including like a sling bag backpack. We're thinking about a really big gear kind of bucket bag,
Mm.
maybe a duffel bag, and some bike bags. We've been asked by the kind of the gravel road and mountain biking communities to create some fun colored bike bags. So look out for those next year as well.
Heck yeah, the possibilities are endless. I'm a bag freak, all
Truly,
sorts, and I'm here
truly.
to definitely test out some mountain bike or gravel bike bags for sure.
I got you, Taryn. I
All
love it.
I
Yes.
was also imagining when I was talking about my boyfriend's suit and like envisioning it as a tote, I did start to kind of envision a like more structured tote type, like,
Yeah.
box kinda thing with that on the outside. It's like, again, the possibilities are pretty much endless here with what you can do, and sure, some of it may take some more resourcing for different material if it takes something, like, more structure or whatnot, but, just so much you can do from things that already exist, but it's a lot of us have these ideas, and I don't have the time or skill or anything to go make it myself, so I love when people come up, things like Birdie Blue, where I'm like, "Oh, this is great," like, there's kind of been this idea in my head, and I'm not gonna execute on it, so here you go. So it's
Totally. And if you do have ideas, like we're all ears. Send bag, wish list to us. We're always iterating. The beauty of our sew network is we have some really talented product developers in our sewing network too. One of my home sewists is the one who built our new chalk bag pattern. So she's
wow.
just super creative, loves to kind of iterate and test different things. So we're all about that too. So send the ideas our way. We want to know what our community wants. So we're all about all of the feedback. So
Love it.
we love it. Just keep it coming.
And that's exactly what I was gonna kind of say, or wanted to touch on really quick too, was if there's anybody out there who maybe knows of some SOAS or organizations or things like that, maybe in their area, can they reach out to you and try and at least start that conversation of how maybe you can expand that network? I don't know. Again, that will take a lot of capacity, I'm sure, to expand further out
Mhm.
of New Mexico or Vermont or whatnot. But we got a lot of listeners out there who are involved in their communities and things. So, where can people reach you for any of that feedback or to get more information on how they might be involved in getting into your network?
Yes, absolutely. We had a lot of really great feedback as some of these bigger, larger scale collaborations have come out, exactly asking, like, hey, can I sew for you? I live in Utah. And I'm like, yes, just maybe not. We're getting there. So
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. I always love hearing from everybody. Whether you want to join our team or just share feedback or, learn more, you can, of course, visit our website, shopbirdieblue.com. And there's a way to join our email list there. That's the best way to kind of find out all the comings and goings and latest news. We don't spam. We usually send an email like once a week just to kind of keep our community up to date on what we're doing. And then you can always email me at hello@shopbirdieblue.com. Love kind of just hearing from all of you out there. I got a review last night from one of my VIPs. I think she's ordered for me 6 times now, and she wrote me a little poem, which was so great. I like just like made my day. So I'm like, I always love hearing it, good or bad. We'll take bad too, but love to hear good feedback.
Yeah.
And then you can always, pop onto our Instagram at Shop Birdie Blue. And I would say I'm trying to get onto TikTok, but again, it's like I'm so old. I can't. I'm like, oh, I can only handle so much. But those are our 3 most like prolific channels, I would say, as a way to kind of follow along on our journey.
Perfect. Well, I mean, it's hard to be everywhere all at the same time, so I think those 3 at least, are good enough, especially for our audience to get a hold of you. I think those 3 places will connect mostly with them. But, Kate, it's been so great to talk to you and get to expand on Birdie Blue, tell the people what you're doing, and also, like, leave them with ways that they can get involved. So, everybody out there, go check out Birdie Blue, whether that's like you're in the market for an awesome, cool bag made from old things like I love my carry-all tote. It's a bright, Obermeyer, I think was the
Yeah,
company, so it's
yeah.
like bright pink and yellow, and so I'm gonna be able to find it in my mess of a truck. I'm like, "There's my bag." Like,
That's right. That's
I can see
right.
the bright yellow, but go check the stuff out if you have any interest in sending stuff in. go find out how you can send your things in. And then if you're in the Truckee area, keep your eye out for these events happening next month, November and in December, and the opportunity to be able to bring your stuff to the event and just drop it all there. So even a little bit less off of your plate. And yeah, Kate, thanks so much. This was so fun. I'm super stoked to keep chatting with you and do some stuff with Birdie Blue.
Yes, thank you, Tara. This was so fun. So excited to expand on our partnerships and all the events coming up this winter. Hope to see you again soon. You'll also have to bring your events to the East Coast. So we'll talk about that too.
Definitely. All right, everybody out there, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.